Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chance Chase, President of Chase Energy Services.
Good afternoon. Well, thank you all for being here. It's great to see such a great community come out, not only to represent our community, but also our great country. Will everybody stand with me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brian Owen Walsh, President of America First Policies.
Well, good afternoon. It's a beautiful, cool day here in late August in southern New Mexico. My name is Brian Walsh. I'm the President of America First, and I want to thank all of you for having us here today. I want to say thank you to a few people before we get started. First, I want to thank Elite Well Services and the Chase family. I had a chance to meet them backstage. Great family, great American company. Give them a round of applause. As many of you know, it takes a lot of people to put an event like this together. So, let's give a round of applause to all the staff at America First Policies and our team who put this together. And I also want to take a moment as the grandson of a sheriff to make sure that we recognize the men and women who are here today keeping us safe and who we call in the moments that we need them, and they always show up. Let's thank our law enforcement officials who are here with us today. And last but not least, I want to thank all of you. America First is a nonprofit grassroots organization. We were set up to support the kind of policies that put the citizens of this country first, and to educate you and give you the tools that you need so that you can engage in the political process and in the policy process, that you could reach out to your legislators and have the information that you need to move this country in the direction that we all believe it needs to go. To quote a great president of ours, from this day forward, it's always going to be America First. So at America First, I want to just give you a little bit about some of the things we've done and some of the things that we're working on today. We were proud to stand with our president and support the biggest tax reform in American history, to put a little bit more money back into the pockets of the hardworking men and women of this country, and to support American businesses so they can compete overseas and bring American jobs back home. At America First, we believe in conservative judges who respect our Constitution, which is why we were happy to stand firm with Judge Brett Kavanaugh during his nomination process, and we think he's doing a great job on the bench. At America First, we believe it is important to respect our border and our border patrol, and that includes advocating that we build the wall. And what today is about trade. As many of you know, in 2015 and 2016, then candidate President Trump talked a lot about the trade deals that we've signed in the past and the damage that they've done to America. Talked a lot about fairness and our ability to have American companies, compete overseas, looking at, compete with China. And specifically, he talked about Nafta and how our neighbors to the north in Canada, our neighbors to the south in Mexico, needed to come back to the table. A lot of people said they couldn't do it. A lot of people said they couldn't get it done. But President Trump and his team sat down with our allies, our friends to the north and the south, and renegotiated a new deal, a better deal for American workers, American businesses, and America as a whole. And that deal is called the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Now, it's important to know, and we're going to talk a lot about it today, give you guys some information that you can use to reach out to your neighbors, reach out to your friends, reach out to your elected officials about, is, the Mexican government and the Mexican legislature have done their part of this. The Canadian government has done their part of this. But our Congress hasn't. And that's part of why we're doing these events. It's part of why we have you all here today. We have to make some noise. We have to tell Nancy Pelosi to pass the USMCA now. So before I introduce our panel, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this new trade deal. I'd like to do a little surprise. You know, there's this guy who many of you may know, sits behind a big wooden desk in a white building back in Washington, D.C. So I'm going to take my phone out here, and on the count of 3, what I'd like this great New Mexico crowd to do for me, when I say 1, 2, 3, I want everybody to say, "Hello, Mr. President." And I think that he may see it. So let's give him a good New Mexico hello. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, well, we got some great people, you know, your neighbors, folks who are working right here in your backyard in New Mexico. We're going to talk a little bit about what this trade deal will do for you, will do for our economy here in New Mexico, will do for our economy here in the country. And when they wrap up, we've got some special people who are also going to come up and say some remarks, including our very, very, very special guest, the Vice President of the United States, Michael R. Pence. So let me begin by introducing our panel. First, I want to introduce our moderator. Many of you don't know, Curtis Ellis is the policy director for America First Policies, and I will tell you he is a good friend of mine, and he has been fighting for better trade for America for 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Curtis Ellis. The executive director of the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. Welcome me in introducing Ryan Flynn. The mayor of this great town that we have been invited to, the mayor of Artesia, New Mexico, Ray Miller. The president of Metex Oil and Gas, Mark Vitoto. Did I get that right, Mark? And the director of government affairs for Holly Frontier Corporation, Josh Hamente. So I know it's a warm day. I want you all to stay cool, stay excited. I hope you learn a lot. It's really, truly an honor to wake up every day and get to fight for the things that we all believe in. And I thank you very much for everything that each and every one of you do every day, for joining us here today and for welcoming us to New Mexico. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, everybody. Thank you all for being here. If you weren't here, we wouldn't be here. So thank you very much. And I want to thank the panel for coming out today on this nice, cool day. I'm glad it's not raining. So we do not engage in any controversy. Well, at least we try not to. But I can't help but ask my first question to the panel. Red or green?
I'm gonna go red all the way.
Unfortunately, I'm Christmas.
Ah.
Are those football colors? What are you talking about?
No.
I'm green.
Now, I'm from Dallas, Texas, and most folks don't know this, but I was born in Las Cruces, New Mexico, so I go Christmas.
All right. Yeah. And the audience, red, raise your hand. Green? Oh, my gosh, green, take that. And Christmas. I'm with you. I can't make up my mind, so I do go Christmas. All right, so we have this new deal called the USMCA, and I guess the first question is, why did we need the USMCA? I mean, we had NAFTA 25 years old. I have a pair of jeans 25 years old. They're just getting broken in. I don't want to get rid of them. Why did we need to get rid of NAFTA?
I mean, I think we need a 21st century trade policy. I think most folks in here agree. I mean, I wouldn't use a cell phone I used in 1996 to communicate with what I'm doing now. So we need something updated for a modern economy that we're in.
No, that's a real good point. 25 years ago, what were we doing with cell phones? What were you doing with a cell phone?
Well, I think it was probably playing Snake on my Nokia. So That was a great game. Could never beat it, though.
Well, obviously I run the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association, and first and foremost, usually when I'm in Santa Fe speaking as a representative of oil and gas, I'm usually having the crowd boo at me. So it's great to be in Artesia with a bunch of energy supporters. Thank you. Thank you so much. But my grandfather actually worked for General Motors. He was a Marine, fought in World War II, and he worked for GM for most of his life. He also, then when he had retired from General Motors, was the regional director for the United Auto Workers. And one of the things about NAFTA, certainly from an energy perspective, there was a lot of good things in NAFTA, and continuing to preserve some of those positive elements in the USMCA was excellent work by this administration. But there was a lot of harm being done to other sectors, like the auto industry. And we've seen in the United States over 20 years huge losses in our auto sector. About 350,000 jobs were lost in the auto manufacturing sector after the adoption of NAFTA, while Mexico gained about 500,000 jobs in that same sector. So certainly, whether it was the auto sector or other important industries like the dairy industry, there are certain industries that benefit from modernizing the USMCA.
What did your father think of NAFTA?
I think my grandfather, someone with an
Your
auto
grandfather,
background.
the auto worker.
I think I think the auto industry really suffered in terms of U.S. manufacturing as a result of it.
Well, I remember President Trump, when he was candidate Trump, he went up to Michigan, and he said he went to Flint, and he said, and Flint used to be known as Buick City, right? And he said it used to be they made cars in Flint and you couldn't drink the water in Mexico. Now they make cars in Mexico and you can't drink the water in Flint. So that kind of sums up what happened to the auto industry. We have a very distinguished person in the audience. His name is Sid. I was talking to him before. He's a very smart guy, an engineer. He helped engineer the space shuttle. The first space shuttle back in 1974, started working on it. And that's not the reason I say he's so smart. He was telling me the worst thing that ever happened to this country was NAFTA. It just started going downhill. And as old Ross Perot said, we had a giant sucking sound of jobs going to Mexico. Anybody remember that? Yeah, I thought it was the ringing in my ears, but I guess it's NAFTA.
Speaking about NAFTA in the oil field, bringing it back to the oil field, for those of you that have seen all these ups and downs, in the early 80s, I think the price of oil was $15, $16. We were pretty excited. It went to 30. Drilling rigs came up. But we were looking for casing. We were looking for tubular goods. And we couldn't find any. So the old standby in Houston was Longhorn Pipe and Supply, and they supplied, I think, everything in the Permian. So there were quota systems enacted through this NAFTA program that limited the amount of product that went in and out. The net result was I couldn't get American-made tubulars, casing and tubing for my wells. I started buying Japanese. We started buying German. We started buying Canadian. I think at one time there was a discussion of some Yugoslavian casing coming in. So I think this was a result of quotas, tariffs, and what I realized in looking for that casing, it pushed the cost of my well up proportionately. It delayed the payout of the well if there was one. It was just one more expense that regulation and rules from the federal government was costing me, a little operator in Hobbs, New Mexico. So the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, in my opinion, is nothing but a free trade agreement. No tariffs, no quotas. Let the market produce what it can sell. It's a supply and demand, so I am a big proponent of free market. So when you look up on the internet, when you go home and look at the USMCA program, keep in mind this is free trade agreements. We're not talking about tariffs and taxes. It's free trade, and I think all of us in this room agree that this is a country that should be based on free trade. And one other comment, I usually don't sweat this much. So to those of you that come up to me afterwards, I apologize. I'm a little wet. But
Stand
then I
about 10 feet
realized-
back.
But then I realized I'm from Hobbs, New Mexico, and I feel like part of the sweat is my being nervous. I feel like a high school football player again in Hobbs that was just told we have to play the Artesia Bulldogs. Go Artesia.
Yay.
Well, on that note, I appreciate your support. It winds up a thing where they were very kind to give us black seats that they preheated in the sun.
That's right.
I now am warm through and through, so
You're looking at,
it is
I
a
don't know,
thing.
there's 5 of us up here.
Yeah.
5 very hot behinds.
That's a kind way of saying it. You do find, and we find in business, that a lot of times when we enter into contracts and agreements that we have expectations of how they'll exactly work. And sometimes those expectations don't meet ultimately with the reality. And I think that's probably what we see with the USMCA, is it's an attempt to try to revision and take out some of the components of Nafta that were not, quote, all fair and equitable, and actually try to make an improvement on it. We see the administration has made so many improvements and opportunities for business, reduction in regulations regarding some of our smaller commercial banks, different areas, tax incentives that they have given to business, the write-off of depreciation and stuff. The administration has had a whole program, and this is just one of the important cogs and legs to try to build success. And I know there's been some criticism of the administration in regards to the fact that it's all for business and not for people. But if you look at the unemployment rate on our nation, and particularly in amongst the minorities, I assure you that all the folks that 2 years ago that didn't have jobs and today have jobs are very thankful for all of the incentives that actually are provided for it, and hopefully this will actually create more jobs inside of America.
Yay. Yeah, when we're talking about trade, we're talking about jobs. We're talking about making things, buying and selling, and it's really the lifeblood of the economy. It's keeping everybody work. Let me step back for a minute, though, because we got very brief introductions, so everybody in the audience knows who's saying what, who you people are. So let's start. Tell me about your business, your organization, what you all do.
Okay, well, again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Flynn. I'm the director of the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association. We have over 1,000 members here in New Mexico, and actually the chairman, three of my bosses, 3 of the members of the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association's board of directors are on stage with me today.
And each one of your 1,000 members employs a whole bunch of people.
Oh yeah, the oil and gas, and this is Artesia. When I'm in Santa Fe, there's a lot of people who spend a lot of time talking about the energy industry in coffee shops, and there's a lot of hypothesizing and
You mean
speculating.
Green New Dealers,
Yeah,
people
about
like
it.
that? What do we
But
think of the Green New Deal, folks? All right, I'm sorry.
No problem. I'm with you. But we're in Artesia. They've forgotten more about the oil and gas industry than any other part of the state. So we employ as an industry over 100,000 New Mexicans. There's nobody comes close to the oil and gas industry in New Mexico. This state, the revenue that this state depends on is driven by this industry. The people that I get to represent, we're the largest taxpayers in the state. So our budget this year was about $7 billion. Almost 40% of that budget, the state's bank account, came directly from the men and women many of the men and women sitting in the office, and businesses like this one that we're at here today with the Chase family, as well as Ray Regeneration Energy, Metex Oil and Gas, and Holly Frontier. So to say the energy industry and the oil and gas industry in particular is important to New Mexico is an understatement. Yet there's a lot of people like I said, up in Santa Fe where I live, who think nothing of driving a vehicle that is powered by our products. They've got a lot of our product in their hair and on their bodies, and then telling you, I support the Green New Deal and we need to get rid of this industry. And so that's my job, is making sure we're educating people on exactly what this industry means to the state, and making sure, when you're up in Santa Fe and you'll have someone say, I support public teachers, but I hate the oil and gas industry.
Well, who do you think pays those public teachers?
I say that 1/3 of those public teachers would go away if you got rid of the oil and gas industry. 1/3 of our government revenue would go away. So if you care about roads, you care about teachers, you care about infrastructure, you need to care about the oil and gas industry, and you need to make sure that you're taking care of the base of our economy, which is right here in the southeastern part of the state. You know, if people aren't taking care of the foundation of our economy, then we can't expect to help grow and continue to stimulate our state's economy or our nation's economy.
And that's a good point about all of trade and what these trade deals are doing. It's about protecting the foundation of our economy. And if we give away all of our industries, give away all of our business to other countries, whether it's Mexico or China, we're not going to have the tax revenue to support the roads and everything else. As I said, like President Trump said, there's a reason why you can't drink the water in Flint now. When they gave away the auto industry, they gave away the tax revenues to support the water treatment plant and everything else. So Ray, now this is my first time in Artesia, so you're going to have to educate me about this place.
Well, it's a beautiful town, and I'm fortunate enough to be the mayor. The good thing was they didn't run anyone else against me. So.
Well, so if I want advice on how to run a campaign, I really shouldn't ask you, should I?
No, I'm not a very good campaigner. It winds up being a thing where I do count it a privilege. I came to Artesia with my wife in 1980 and actually worked for Chance's grandfather and his partner at Marbob Energy Corporation. And it was a thing where I knew nothing about oil and gas. They were kind enough to educate me. And it winds up being a thing where I couldn't be prouder of being the representative as mayor of the community, as well as being in the industry. We still have a small oil and gas company, and I'm very fortunate that both of my sons actually work in the company with me. It's a thing where Artesia is community, family, faith, and it's a thing where we practice each one of them strongly. And it's truly an honor to actually be here, and I assure you that while we have great families that contribute greatly to the community, such as the Chases, such as the Yateses, it's a thing where our economic system allows everyone to have the opportunity to reach that success. It takes hard work. It also takes a little bit of luck, but it's a thing where it's a great country where you have the opportunity to achieve that success.
Amen.
I'm proud to be here.
Yay. You know, I heard something on the radio yesterday when I turned it on in my hotel room at the Hotel Artesia, a very fine establishment. And I turn on the radio in the morning and I hear this guy say, the American dream is that when you're little, they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Everywhere else, they tell you what you're going to do. And that's the difference between this country and China and other places. So Mark, tell me what you do. What is Metex?
It's Metex Oil and Gas. We're a very small, family-owned, independent business.
You produce gas by the
We're
thimbleful?
gas.
I mean, what is small?
Compared to some, yes. So I'm passionate about politics, not only to protect my business, but the regulations in our industry, the environmental regulations. I don't think that our industry needs these layers upon layers upon layers of regulation. There's always a bad player somewhere, somebody that doesn't report a leak, but we are operating under such tight scrutiny today. We've got these methane emissions that are going to be discussed for the next till the next session. It's going to affect all of us. But politics and the connection to the people that represent us to preserve and protect our industry is my passion. I love the oil field. I love it coming home and my wife says, you smell really bad. So...
Is that before, though the days you're working, or
yeah, that's
the days
when
you
I'm
took
leaving
off?
the house. That's when I'm leaving the house at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But seriously enough, I think all of us, the reason you're here in 100-degree heat or whatever it is because you care. And I think all of us, most of us have conservative views that want to protect and preserve. And our industry has done nothing wrong. I don't think we've polluted. I don't think we've contaminated. I think we're now reusing fresh water, produced water in such a way that I just don't see us as the bad guy. And let me compliment Ryan Flynn, the NMOGA Executive Director. He walks around in Santa Fe and he doesn't hand out cards because he's not very welcome. But everywhere he goes, he defends us. And he has, yes. As you know, he was Cabinet Secretary, Department of the Interior, Department of the Environment at the state level under Governor Martinez. And so when I first met him, I thought, I'm meeting an environmentalist. Oh my. And it turns out he's one of us. So he came down to Hobbs and we met and we became friends. But give Ryan and NMOGA and the Independent Petroleum Association all the support you can. They're in Santa Fe, they're in Washington, they're fighting for us. So Ryan, thank you.
I wanted to thank the Chase family again for having us here and putting this all together. This is a great event for everyone to come to. My name is Josh Jimente, and as I said, I'm a New Mexico native. I was born in Las Cruces, and I work for Holly Frontier. Do we have anyone from Holly Frontier in the crowd? There you go. Who knows someone that works for Holly Frontier? That's the great thing about Artesia is no matter where you go, you know someone that works for Holly. It's truly an amazing community. We just celebrated our 50 years of operation, I guess, Mayor, 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And it was truly an incredible experience. You know, Holly has 5 other refineries, but when there's a choice to come to Artesia, I'm always here. So, and it's all due to the hard work that the folks who represent us in Santa Fe do, Ryan and the mayor. So a big thanks to them.
So, yay. I saw that little refinery you got going down there. It works all night.
It does. You heard it.
There's a refinery down there. Did you know that? Yeah. So how will you, Ray, Josh, you probably, and anybody else can jump in. How is USMCA important for Holly Frontier, for the oil and gas industry?
Yeah, well, so the refinery down here in Navajo, it's unique to other refineries across the United States. We actually make 12 different types of fuel. So we're actually starting to export fuel from New Mexico into Mexico.
That's amazing.
Which is truly amazing. And to Phoenix, and to Albuquerque, and to Texas. So it's a big thing, and it's truly a testament of our crew we have there. So I think that's how USMCA guarantees that we're going to have free and fair markets down in Mexico.
Yeah.
It winds up being a thing where not only is the refinery one of the potential benefactors, but we also have a strong dairy industry.
Please talk about that. Yeah, that's a very important part of this deal, the dairy industry.
Yeah, and I know that the stuff in Canada will probably have more impact based on some of the folks to the north. A lot of the small dairies in the Wisconsin and all are really struggling because of low commodity prices. So if some of the inactions in the USMC actually lower some of the tariffs that are there, allow us into the Canadian markets, it'll help all of the dairy industry across the United States, because milk is like our commodity. It's a free-flowing commodity and priced pretty much nationally.
Yeah, what it is, Canada would put like a 300% tariff on dairy products coming into Canada because they want to protect their dairy farmers. They got a lot of dairy cows up there in Ottawa or wherever, Montreal. Actually, it's Montreal, and there's a little touchy with the French thing going on up there, so they want to be nice to the French cows. So they put a tariff, and also they subsidize their own dairy exports. So when a Canadian dairy farmer wants to export to, say, New Zealand or Guatemala or whatever, they get special export treatment, and USMCA fixes that. So it levels the playing field so our dairy farmers can not only do better selling into Canada, they can do better selling into the rest of the world. Because basically, our farmers are so productive, we make more milk than we can possibly drink. So I ask everybody, if you love a dairy farmer, take a bath in milk when you get home. It'll be good. So you, Mr. New Mexico Oil and Gas, what's your take on how the USMCA is going to help?
Yeah,
help this
well, I think
business?
first and foremost, when you think about the energy industry and where we are today, I mean, no longer is the United States at the mercy of countries like Saudi Arabia or Russia. When it comes, we truly, thanks to the ingenuity of our industry, we are energy independent as a nation. And that is remarkable when you think about it. I mean, think about where you were. Yeah, we should give yourselves a hand for that. It's you all that are making that happen. And in New Mexico, we're playing a huge part in the energy renaissance that's occurring right now in the United States. We are the third largest oil producer in the United States of America. It's remarkable when you think about it. And I know we're in Artesia, so they're used to coming in first place and everything. So they might be saying, all right, well, third place, we can do better. And we'll keep going after. We'll keep chasing Texas. But, as a state in here, we're constantly flooded with stories and rankings, whether it be poverty, whether it be income issues, whether it be public education, where we're literally ranked 50th of all the states. But when it comes to energy production, specifically oil and gas, we're third. We're a leader. We're ninth in natural gas production. So the energy industry in the United States is going through a remarkable period of time right now. We've turned ourselves into an energy independent nation, and New Mexico is having a huge role in that process. And so what does that have to do with free trade? Well, Mexico is the #1 importer of U.S. natural gas and fuel products. Canada is the #1 importer.
Could you say that again?
Old Mexico is the #1 importer of natural gas and U.S. fuel products, whereas Canada is the #1 importer of crude oil.
But Mexico produces so much oil. I mean, they got that Pemex, they got the National Oil Company, they've got oil fields all over Veracruz, Tabasco.
They're not on the podium
what the heck's
with
going
the
on?
United States when it comes to oil production.
Wow. Yeah.
But so, when the energy industry is thriving, our entire nation is thriving. And the ability, it's the same story that plays out here in New Mexico. When our industry is doing well, that's creating opportunities for other sectors to thrive. So, the one good thing was that when they looked at our industry, they decided to retain important aspects of Nafta in order to preserve our ability to have a fair trade balance with partners like Mexico and Canada. And then they looked at improving other areas where there was huge inequality with respect to trade agreements on those other sectors that you heard Ray and you've mentioned. So it does provide a huge opportunity for us to retain the important trade benefits that exist without disrupting our status as the energy power now globally.
Great.
And Ray, aren't we, Ryan, now the United States is the largest producer of oil in the world?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and was it 2 years ago they were discussing in Congress, they were arguing about letting us export crude oil? Are you kidding me? Yeah. So we're now exporting, and for the first time in my life, I don't hear the word OPEC very often.
Right? Nobody.
And you know what's interesting? When you talk, you mentioned
NOPEC.
NOPEC.
But you mentioned the environment or worker safety when you think about it. And having the United States be #1 when it comes to the production of oil and gas, that doesn't just benefit us economically. Demand for our products globally continues to increase. So if you were to follow through on some of these misguided plans you hear in D.C., like the Green New Deal, and you eliminate the energy industry in the United States, well, that means we're going to keep producing that energy elsewhere. And I can guarantee you that Saudi Arabia or Russia don't have the same protections for the environment that the United States has. They don't have the same protections for worker safety that the United States does. So us being the leader when it comes to energy production, having the United States be the leader in this field means we're actually doing more to protect the people and the places that are generating this energy than any place else in the world.
Well, that's right. And natural gas is the cleanest burning fuel. So when those Green New Dealers talk about no more natural gas, no more fossil fuels. They're talking about getting rid of the clean energy because we are the cleanest manufacturer in the world. You know, all these environmentalists worried about, you know, whether it's greenhouse gases or air pollution or clear-cutting forests or, you know, whatever, they should not be buying a single thing made in China because they don't have any environmental regulations in China. They should buy stuff made in America because we are the best, cleanest, safest place to make anything anywhere on Earth. We're doing a better job today than anybody in Paris or any UN bureaucrat ever dreamed of ever doing. So that's my speech.
And Curtis, interesting fact I heard last night, and it's concerning the tools and the technology for this industry. All of us in this crowd understand quite a bit about the tools and technology that's required today. There's not an oil well or gas well in the world that has not used American technology and American-made equipment.
Amen.
That's amazing.
That's made Howard Hughes rich.
Made Howard Hughes wealthy.
We only got a couple minutes left here before the people you came to see come out here. So I know you didn't come here to see me, and here are our distinguished panel here today. So real quickly, I want to run through what this USMCA does is for the first time in a trade agreement, it says people have to be paid $16 an hour. If you're working on making a car, whether you're in Mexico, Canada, or anywhere, 40% of the people working have to be made $16 an hour. That's never been in a trade agreement before. It says 75% of those cars have to be made in North America. They can't take the brake shoes from China, ship them to Mexico, stick them in a car, and call it made in America. That's not going to work anymore. That's been fixed. For the first time, we fixed the thing in Nafta that said Mexican trucking companies and Mexican truckers who've been up for 3 weeks on methadone can operate anywhere on American highways. No more. It's going to be American truckers on American highways. That's in the USMCA. No more currency manipulation and no more international panels of some guy from Geneva who's going to be able to overturn American laws because Mexico doesn't want to go to a United States court. So we fixed this whole sovereignty business to maintain American sovereignty where the laws are made in New Mexico, in the state capitals, in Washington, D.C., not in Geneva and not somewhere in the United Nations or something. So that's what's going on here. Now, we're going to wrap up here. I want to ask everybody to do one thing here. I want everybody to take their phone out right now. Please take your phone out right now. And we are going to do this. We're going to enter in a phone number. We're not going to make the call now, but we're going to enter in this number. So you enter in the number, act like you're going to make a call. The number is 202-225-2365. And then hit like you're going to call or save it. That's the number of your congresswoman, congressman. That's congressman in this area here. So if you live down here, that's Congressman Torres Small. Yep. I want you, not now, but I want you to call her and say, very politely, they're going to ask you your name, where you live, so they make sure that you're one of her constituents. God willing, you will be and are. And otherwise, you live in the other half of the state. And they're going to ask you your name and then say, I have a message for the Congresswoman. Pass USMCA now. Now, don't do it now, but I want you to now turn to the person next to you and say, I will make this call. So,
I'll make the call.
all right. So you can do that after the event. You can do it tomorrow. You can do it Monday. It'll be great. Now, thank you very much. You all have been wonderful. We're now going to get off stage so that the really important people can come on here. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Claire Chase, Chairman of the Board of the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association.
everybody. I'm so glad to have you here. That walk is a lot longer than I thought it was going to take on these little legs and in these heels, so my apologies for that. What a great day in Artesia, right? Yes, we're so excited. It is my honor to be here today on behalf of the Chase family, on behalf of Artesia and Roswell and Carlsbad, and behalf of all of Southeast New Mexico. I am very excited to introduce our next speaker. He serves President Trump as the head of the Department of Commerce, and he knows more than a thing or two about commerce. Like President Trump, he has a track record of success as a businessman. He has experience in the steel industry, he has experience in the textile industry, and he has experience in the energy industry. He brought that experience to Washington, where he has been on the front line in the battle for fair trade that puts America first. Let's give a warm welcome to a man who is making better deals for American workers, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Wilbur Ross.
Thank you, Claire, for that kind introduction. It's my honor to be here with Vice President Pence and with a company doing so much to improve the fortunes of so many people in New Mexico and throughout America. You are providing the country with the energy independence that had eluded us since the first Arab oil embargo almost 50 years ago. Congratulations to all of you. For decades, people said it couldn't be done. Our reserves were finite and depleted, and we would be forever dependent on foreign oil. They underestimated American technology and American ingenuity. The same can be said about Nafta. They doubted we could renegotiate a trade deal that had been in place for 25 years, a bad deal. But it had to be fixed. Our cumulative trade deficit with Mexico alone had been more than $1 trillion post-NAFTA. 1 trillion with a big T. Well, President Trump has kept his campaign promises and is delivering USMCA. And just as critics said we couldn't renew our energy industry and we couldn't renegotiate an outdated trade agreement, they were also oblivious to the importance of our manufacturing sector. USMCA will bring back more than 125,000 jobs and improve protection of our intellectual property rights. The oil and gas being produced here in the Permian Basin is generating massive investments and multiple new jobs in new production facilities, chemical plants, and LNG terminals. In 2017 and 2018, the United States added more than 9,500 factories, manufacturing more goods that can be exported to more customers throughout the world. And the best news of all is that for the first time in 70 years, the United States will be a net exporter of energy. That is why the USMCA is so important right at this moment. We have more products to sell to the rest of the world, not just energy, not just even your services, but the chemicals, cars, consumer goods, and more of everything made in the USA, thanks to your success in the oil patch. Vice President Pence has been an ardent and tireless supporter of American manufacturing, of American energy, American exports, American workers, and American jobs. He comes from another state that makes things, and he is fully committed to creating a business climate that fosters investment, growth, and job creation. He and President Trump are standing up for domestic energy producers. And with a trade agreement based on America First, we're prying open foreign markets for your goods and services. New Mexico already has a $1.5 billion of export sales to Mexico and Canada. The USMCA will make that $1.5 billion grow to $2 billion before very long. We have a president who has kept his campaign promises and has renegotiated a flawed Nafta into a far better USMCA. It is a big win for all three countries, but it's a bigger win for you and for workers and businesses in New Mexico. That's why we are here, for your sake and for the country's sake. We need Congress to pass USMCA right away. Thank you.
Guys, this is the reason we're all here. I hope you're excited. I hope you're ready. The US-Mexico-Canada agreement is a huge achievement. It's a better deal for American workers, for American farmers and ranchers, for American businesses. Everyone here today will benefit from this deal. This new trade agreement wouldn't have been possible if not for the outstanding leadership of President Donald J. Trump. That's right. And Vice President Mike Pence has been and continues to be with the president every step of the way to make sure this deal gets done. Yes, cheers, yes, everyone should be excited. Since he was first elected to Congress and then elected governor, and now as vice president, Mike Pence has been true to his principles as a Christian, as a conservative, and as a Republican. You can always count on Mike to fight for his principles, to fight for what's right, and to fight for his friends. Sounds a lot like this community, guys. Now, President Donald J. Trump can count on Mike to fight for him, and that means we can count on him to fight for us. Please rise and join me in welcoming the best vice president the United States has ever had, Mike Pence.
Well, hello, New Mexico. And I want to say thank you to Claire Chase. Thank you for those kind words. Claire is the chairman of New Mexico Oil and Gas. She is an advocate for a growing New Mexico economy. Would you join me in thanking Claire Chase for her leadership, past, present, and future? Thank you, Claire. And to Secretary Ross, to Secretary Bernhardt, to Mayor Miller, hear it for Mayor Ray Miller. This is a great town. To local leaders, to honored guests, and also to a young man whose mom just told me at the airport of Roswell got here at 7:30 just to get in line. Where is Sean McCracken at? Sean, Thanks for coming out today, Sean. To all of you who've made a point to come out today to support this effort, to support this cause, and especially to all the tremendous men and women of Elite Well Services, it is great to join you here at the engine of America's energy renaissance, the Permian Basin. True. And as I get started, let me bring greetings from a great champion of American energy, someone who loves New Mexico and is inspired every day by what people working in this industry are doing to advance American energy independence. I bring greetings from the 45th President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. You know, from our very first day in office, this president promised the American people that we were going to start, as he said, an energy revolution, one that celebrates American production on American soil. And President Donald Trump delivered. He's been delivering on that promise every single day. And American energy is booming here in the Permian Basin and all across America. From early on in this administration, the President has taken decisive action to unleash American energy. We approved the Keystone and Dakota pipelines. We issued permits for the new Burgos pipeline that will cross the U.S.-Mexico border. We withdrew the United States from the job-killing Paris Climate Accord. And we rolled back the Clean Power Plan and said yes to American energy. In fact, this president and this team you've already heard from today, this president has actually signed more bills rolling back federal red tape than any president in American history. And while we've been cutting red tape, we've also been cutting taxes. President Donald Trump signed the largest tax cuts and tax reform in American history. And now a family of four here in New Mexico is saving about $2,000 a year that they can spend on their families, their education, or put in the bank for the future. All of those policies have created incredible results. As you just heard Secretary Ross say, today the United States is the largest producer of oil and natural gas in the world, and next year America will become a net exporter of energy for the first time in 70 years. And you're making that happen. And you know, it's not just energy that's booming. Since Election Day, businesses large and small all across this state and this nation have created 6.2 million new jobs, including nearly 35,000 jobs right here in New Mexico. The unemployment rate has hit a nearly 50-year low, and more Americans are working today than ever before in the long and storied history of this country. But it's not just about more jobs, it's about better wages. The truth is, you look at the statistics now, wages are rising at their fastest pace in nearly a decade, and maybe most meaningful to the President and me, wages are rising most rapidly for blue-collar, hard-working Americans. The forgotten men and women of America are forgotten no more. I mean, this economy's come roaring back, and frankly, it's companies like Elite Well Services that are making it happen all across the Permian Basin. And although it only began its operation 7 years ago, this company's been leading the charge to unlock the full potential of the Permian Basin ever since. In fact, I'm told Chase Energy literally doubled the number of its employees in the last 3 years, and you've grown the number of customers you serve by nearly 250%. That's worth a round of applause to the great team here at Elite Well Service. Great job. And we know that while these policies were advancing and made a difference, Elite Well Services is a great company because it has great people. Like one of the company's employees I heard about on my way here, actually the second person ever hired at Elite. She's the heart and soul of the company, I'm told. Treats every one of her colleagues like they're the most valuable member of the team, always willing to go the extra mile to make sure this company succeeds, and everybody working for it does well. And when she isn't here at work, I'm told she's usually reading or relaxing with her husband Benny, or they're off camping with their 3 kids or their 4, what she says are perfect grandchildren. Would you all join me in showing your appreciation for Diane Griffin, one of the great team members. Where are you, Diane? Turn around, take a bow. Great job. Thanks, Diane. Appreciate you. Congratulations on all the success here since that day you became the second employee of this place. Now, Diane, I mentioned her because she's really just emblematic of all of you. Men and women of this company, and all of you who are working all across this region, are really renewing American energy. You're living the American dream. And everything we've accomplished in the last 2.5 years is a testament to each and every one of you, to the leadership that you've supported in our nation's capital. So first and foremost, let me say thank you, New Mexico. Thank you for believing in the American dream. I'm grateful for your support, but I'm also here because we need your help to keep the American economy growing, to keep American energy rolling. President Trump and I know that we've also got to level the playing field for American energy and American workers by forging trade deals that put America first. And that's exactly what we've been doing from the first days of this administration. We renegotiated a deal with South Korea. We're in serious negotiations with Japan and with the European Union. As soon as the UK finishes their work in Brexit, we're going to get a free trade agreement with the UK, and we put China on notice that the United States will no longer tolerate trade abuses or compromising the international rules of commerce as they've done so for so many years. But the President, in the midst of all of that, also negotiated the largest trade deal in American history. And I'm here to tell you, the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement is a win for New Mexico and a win for America. And the time has come for Congress to pass the USMCA. And border states like New Mexico that rely on trade with your neighbors have the most to gain. The truth is, the USMCA is going to be a huge win for the American people, for New Mexico, but it's also a win for American energy. It's going to allow American companies to continue building the infrastructure that you need to carry American energy into Mexico. It'll preserve the investor-state dispute settlement that protects American energy's companies' rights. The USMCA will also keep Mexico's energy resources open to development by American companies, and it will guarantee no tariffs on American oil. You know, Canada and Mexico are already the top 2 destinations for American oil. They receive nearly 30% of all of our exports, and that number is only going to increase when the USMCA is signed into law. In fact, according to the International Trade Commission, the USMCA is going to add nearly $70 billion in investments all across our economy and create nearly 180,000 American jobs. You know, in total, American exports to Canada are going to increase by $19 billion, and we project that exports will increase to Mexico by about $14 billion. Now, nearly half of New Mexico's exports go to either Canada or Mexico and support 15,000 jobs. So the USMCA is not just a win for America, it is a big win for New Mexico, and we've got to get Congress to pass it into law. That's why I'm here. As we pass this thing into law, the numbers I just recited are only going to grow. And opportunities for companies like the company that's hosting us today and all of the great companies and families that are represented here going to be able to expand and grow in the midst of this energy renaissance. But we got to get it done. It's why I asked you to come out here, because the clock is ticking. And I figured the best place to turn up the heat on the USMCA was in the heart of New Mexico. I mean, the truth is, you all know something about heat. You know, the truth is the president's done his job. We've done our job. Mexico and Canada have done their job. Now it's time for Congress to do their job and pass the USMCA and pass it this year. You know, it really is amazing to be back in the Permian Basin. I was in West Texas not long ago and got to see firsthand the incredible drive toward American energy independence that's happening here. It's truly inspiring. And as I leave here today and let you all find a little shadier or cooler place to be, I want to tell you, in my heart of hearts, I believe there's only two things that stand in the way of a boundless energy future, a future of American energy independence. The first is we need to pass the USMCA, and that's going to open the door to a boundless future of American energy. That's number one. And second, we need to stand up and speak out with one voice as we see this energy renaissance happening all across America. We have to reject the radical climate change agenda that is wanting to turn America's energy clock backwards. All right? We got to say yes to America's energy independence and no to the Green New Deal. We've got to say yes to President Trump's vision for America's energy future and no to any candidate for president who wants to eliminate fossil fuels or stand in the way of America's independent energy future. We need to stand strong. Men and women of New Mexico, we got to stand strong for the future of American energy, and I know you will. And I want to ask you as we work to get this largest trade deal in American history passed by the Congress, to let your voice be heard. I want each of you here today to reach out. Reach out to those that represent you in Washington, D.C. here in New Mexico, and tell them that we need the USMCA to keep New Mexico's economy growing and to keep energy prospering and expanding here in the Permian Basin. I want you to call Congresswoman Torres Small. I want you to call Senator Udall. I want you to call Senator Heinrich. Tell them we need the USMCA and we need it this year for New Mexico and America. And while you got them on the phone, tell them that New Mexico believes in American energy independence. So thanks for coming out today. I'm looking forward to a meeting as many of you as time permits. In the days and weeks that lie ahead, I'll make you a promise. President Trump and I are going to keep fighting. We're going to keep fighting for all the policies that you've supported in Washington, D.C. that have made this booming economy a reality and that have made this energy renaissance a reality for every American. You know, I've long believed that the source of American greatness has always been our faith, our freedom, and our vast natural resources. In the last 2.5 years, under President Trump's leadership, we've been standing strong on those ideals. We've been defending all the freedoms that make this country strong, and we've been defending the right of Americans to develop our God-given natural resources. And doing that, I see it all over the country. We're making America great again. And I truly do believe that with your continued support, with the USMCA passed into law, with President Donald Trump in the White House and with strong partners joining us on Capitol Hill, and with God's help, that will make America more prosperous than ever before. We'll make energy independence a reality for Americans like never before. And to borrow a phrase, we'll keep America great. Thank you, everybody. God bless New Mexico, and God bless America.